What is going on, everyone? Welcome into this week's edition of the Mast Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. I am the territory manager for Kentucky, Southern Indiana, Southern Ohio, and Nashville. And I want to thank you all again for tuning in to this week's show. Joining me on this episode is Isaac Keselman. Isaac, how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm looking forward to having a great conversation.
Well, you all are in for a treat today. Isaac is one of the leading innovators in the industry and has been for quite some time. Let me give you a brief biography of Isaac so you can get an idea of what he does. He founded Aqua Doctor in 1995, transforming it into a leading pool service and construction company in New Jersey. He was appointed the chief operating officer of Azurion in October of this year. Congratulations on that. Overseeing the strategic consolidation of 5 top-tier pool service companies to create a groundbreaking platform. And he also serves as the vice president of the Northeast Spa and Pool Association, playing a key role in driving industry standards and education. I know that was a lot of words and not a lot of time. It speaks to how how credible the guy that we're talking to today is. But Isaac, first walk me through it. President of AquaDoctor. What exactly is AquaDoctor?
Well, AquaDoctor started, as you stated, in 1995. We were a swimming pool maintenance company. So our lifeblood began from taking care of what was people's prime source of enjoyment in their homes. So coming from that point, which I did while I was still in college, and upon graduating, I have a degree in accounting and finance, but water was very appealing. Things got substantial by the time I graduated, and we had a pretty decent business. And although the team was quite a bit smaller, it was a great team, and we got a lot of opportunities to grow. Since 1995, shortly thereafter, we were asked by multiple clients to repair different aspects of their swimming pools. Some of them were quite outside my comfort level, but with great clientele who were behind you, pushing. You can do it. We're confident. We believe you can get it done. We took on a little bit more. The service maintenance end of our business grew into substantial repair work, and then in the late 90s, one of our clients moved to another home and said, after you fix this and took care of all of our issues, we'd like you to build our new swimming pool. So sort of the same thing, was a little bit outside my comfort zone, but learning the industry from the maintenance side of things gave us the confidence to take on a project like that. We were already involved in a little bit of the industry training, and we're able to use that resource to elevate the level of our company and grow from just a maintenance company to a service company to encompassing some construction.
And now kind of walk me through the decision, with Azurion, chief operating officer. What sort of went behind that decision? Kind of walk me through what the intention is with this move on your professional side
So,
of
as you stated, there was 5 of us, and the 5 of us have been friends and worked on sort of an educational platform with NESPA, with Metro, which is a chapter of NESPA in New York, New Jersey. And that's where all of us originally started from. Um, and we just got to know each other. We saw this opportunity to network between us, and it sort of became a clear picture. Kyle Chaikin, who is a very, very close friend and has been for 15 years because of the swimming pool industry, had this idea to put us together. And although we all thought that way and we saw the synergies and realized that, look, we can, have all these savings and so many better opportunities by joining forces, he really pushed it hard to make it a reality. We were able to work with an unbelievable advisor, Bruce Fisher, and our then at that point, he wasn't CEO of anything other than our group, and the 5 of us, John to Sarah, we were able to network and be introduced to quite a few private equity firms. And there was one that was just an absolute standout, which was O2. And the relationship just grew from there. It's been an unbelievable relationship. We've all grown tremendously by working together. All of the things that we initially thought about, from easily joining our payroll systems to our banking systems to a CRM and technology advancements that we could do together that we otherwise would never be able to do alone. They were just beyond what our individual companies could handle, have all come to fruition. The COO role, I was really fortunate that they were able to look at me, and my peers were able to look at me in a way and say, we kind of like all the things that you're doing, and we see that we can work together, and some of the things that you're doing will work well for all of us. And I was fortunate that they saw me in that light, and that I'm able to take on that position. And I really feel that we'll all elevate together, working together, and I'm happy to be looked at as someone who can help make that happen.
In this industry, honestly, any industry, competition is natural, right? I mean, you obviously will have that competitive edge, especially when there is money involved. Let's be completely honest. You don't see a lot of companies out there consolidating, but what you do see sometimes is a lot of subcontract work. You do see, so I won't necessarily go as far as saying behind the scenes, but I'll say, it's sort of like a low key partnership where, you scratch my back, I scratch yours, and some will kind of scoff at that idea and say, yeah, just more business for the competition. But there's a saying that you said right before we started recording that I kind of fumbled through. I was sitting there trying to remember it. A rising tide raises all ships. And I think that that's something as we kind of move forward with our industry, it's something that you're starting to see that mental or ideological shift towards that versus more of your traditional competition.
Yeah, first off, I would say we love competition. The more competition, the better. I mean,
Right.
competition, again, same thing. We all rise. So without the choices that competition offers, there would be a stalemate. There's even competition in this market. Of course, there is consolidation. We weren't the first. I'd like to say that our mission is the best. Of course, we think that, or we wouldn't have been able to join together as a team. But our criteria and the other firms we're looking for to be part of our team and work together with, I will tell you, are just a little bit different than the way other people are doing it. And that's why we welcome the competition, and we look forward to being a leader with all the other competitors.
It's all about staying ahead of the curve, so to speak. And it seems like, really ever since you started out, founding AquaDoctor, you mentioned the late 90s. It feels like you've always been, receptive to the technological advances. And that's something that I find interesting to see is how you've navigated the time. Because when you look back, I mean, we're almost 30 years from 1995, which I don't want to sound like that guy, but I wasn't even born in 1995. I was born in 1998. Sort of give me a glimpse of an overview. How different are things on the technological side in the service division from 1995 to, let's call it how it is, we're 2 months away, 2025.
All righty. Well, I could tell you that technology was available all the way back to 1995, but it was a struggle. We worked really hard all the way back at that point in time to figure out the best way to interact with our clients, to work our schedules, to talk to our teammates in the trucks in the field. And it was a real struggle. We developed our own software way back in the early 2000s. That wasn't pretty. It didn't look anything like software look now, but it served a purpose. My wife Maria has been the backbone and continues to be the backbone of AquaDoctor, and she's able to do that because of the technology that was created. She runs the show. She can speak to all of us, whether they're construction technicians, service technicians, or anything else, through technology. What I can say nowadays is that there's just so many options to make that technology work for you. It's so nice to be able to look at 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different platforms and just cherry pick the best of what you want. So technology has always been a huge, huge part of AquaDoctor. We've always really taken advantage of it because it makes our lives so much better, and it makes our reputation so much better with our clientele.
So those that are listening to this, that you're either a part of a service division or they run a service division, some of the pushback on that notion might be, well, if it's not broke, why fix it? What is your response to those that want to continually operate in the old school way? What are the advantages of, getting up to speed technologically in the field?
So at Metro, which is the New York, New Jersey division of the Northeast Pond Pool Association, our campaign starting years ago, I was the education chair of Metro, and I am of NESPA, is work smarter, not harder. We can all work really, really hard. We can do a ton of manual labor, and you can be financially rewarded for it. But there's a quality of life issue. We want to enjoy our hard work. We want to be able to spend time with our family, our children, whatever your leisure may be. And you can continue to do it the old way, but if I can get 50% more profit and more production with the same team, the writing's on the wall. Just work smarter, not harder. Um, and it's just capable. We've always run our entire business with one person in the office controlling 5 to 10 crews. And I shouldn't even say in the office. You can be in the office a couple hours a week. The rest is all on the road. Well, Maria, like I said, is my wife. She was at school with my children from day one all the way through. But that doesn't mean she didn't work. She ran the ship remotely because technology enabled that.
So let's play a little bit of a role here. Let's say that let's say I'm a service tech and I don't use much technology. I might log some things in on my phone. I might take some pictures that I have for record and show my service coordinator when I get back to the shop. Isaac, in your seat and from your experience, what do you feel like would be the most valuable, maybe not just information, but advice or even some techniques that you could, deliver to me that could, like you said, help me work smarter, not harder?
So it all comes down to communication, right? If you're that one, then it doesn't really matter if you're an owner operator and it's your own business and you may be the only guy out in the field and you're not answering to um, a service manager or a fleet manager or a bunch of other guys. Having the data at your fingertips, knowing where you were, what has been, and what is happening at those sites means if you call me and you're having a problem at your swimming pool and it's Saturday afternoon, and before I get there, I can look up, oh wow, he has an 800 square foot pool. There's two pumps. There's this brand. There's that brand. I see what the fittings look like. I can come there and I can be pretty well prepared to be in and out in maybe 35 minutes instead of 2.5 to 3 hours of showing up, looking what the problem is, leaving, getting parts, coming back, and instead of losing my whole Saturday, I could have made the same amount of money in an hour, and you would be thrilled as can be that I came there, fixed it. You were able to enjoy your day with your family, your leisure time. I was out of your hair, and I'm out of your hair again. Now I can be back with my family. So it doesn't really matter your scale. You can be, what we call a single polar, which is respectable. You go out, do your job, and you come back when you're finished. Or you can have 100 crews. The fact that 3 of the crews can be having a hard time and 97 are cruising, they can pick up the slack and help because you're communicating. So it doesn't really matter the scale. It all comes down to communication. And when you have a tool to help you do that, it just makes your life that much easier and you're working smarter.
It's a game changer, and time is money, as they say. One thing that I find really fascinating, I started out in retail, did some service work. I mean, you're in a family business, you can wear a couple different hats, right? And then when I made the switch to distribution about 2 years ago, and now I'm with Mast, one thing that I've seen is how delayed or the time frame in which certain trends enter some markets, but it takes a little while to enter other markets, right? I'm curious with how well of a pulse you seem to have on some of the industry trends. What are you sort of seeing in this realm, maybe developing now, or something that's pretty close down the pipeline that you feel confident, we're going to be entering into XYZ time period?
Well, I would tell you, we all learned a pretty valuable lesson in the COVID years. How important it is to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and certainly have things you can enjoy without depending on the outside so much. So technology has been a huge player, right? So how can we really enhance your experience at your home without being so invasive? So a lot of it comes to be, I can see a few hundred pools on this little device, and you can call me and I can say, oh my goodness, yeah, there's a problem, or I can preemptively see it before you call me and potentially solve it and you never knew about it, which is great. Or I could see what's going on, see if I can resolve it remotely for you, which means I'm not in your hair, I'm not in your house, I haven't taken any time away from your family and your enjoyment. And I think that's going to become more and more prevalent. You're going to see a lot more interaction with clients electronically. And although people say you can't replace the tech, you can't, because you need your brain over here to see what's going on and interpret the data. But quite
Right.
frankly, I might not be able to or have to come out to the site. I'll be able to solve that. And I think in my experience with my clientele, they've been just as appreciative, if not even more so, because it's so simple. Again, giving you that ability to have some of your downtime. Everyone works really hard. You really need to make sure that when you need to enjoy the things that you worked hard for, that they function properly.
And I feel like that's one of the main benefits to have a CRM tool that you definitely can trust. And for those that don't know what that stands for, it's basically relationship management, which allows you to do anything from log meetings to discuss what happened to log chemical readings. There's no boundaries to what the utilization can serve. The benefits of having a CRM tool, I mean, it just feels you could view it as a little bit tedious work at the end of the day, but if it's something that you're continually pouring the effort into, it feels like the benefits are just exponential.
I think you hit it on the head. So with a CRM, a lot of people, much like I compare it to putting a contact in your phone. If I just put your first name, not your last name, not your address, and trying to zoom in and understand, oh, wait a second, it's
Who's
easy
this guy?
for Isaac or a Dalton, right? I mean, our
Right.
names are a little easier to pick out, but if it's Mike or John or Bill, we don't know which bill it is, and we don't have where you live. So the more information, which takes a little bit of time, right? The more information you get into a CRM, a platform that can give you information back, the easier it makes your life. So just like anything else, you're going to have to do a little bit of work up front to get the results you're looking for in the end.
Isaac Keselman, president of AquaDoctor and chief operating officer of Azurion, joining us on this week's edition of the Mass Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in and making us part of your daily commute. Like I said, this show's not supposed to be a chore. It's not supposed to be something that you should have to be able to force yourself to listen to. You're driving to and from the office. You just got done logging results into a CRM tool. Hopefully much more. It's just supposed to be free flowing. But one thing we want to do is interact with you all. And there's been some questions that have been introduced to the initial mailbag that is something that is going to be a part of every show. And I like this question particularly for Isaac because it really pertains to what we're talking about. And it allows us to sort of drive the point home. Isaac, the question of the mailbag today is where do you see industry technology taking off to in a 5 year period? So we're in, let's call it 2030. I hate saying 2024. It's November. um, in 2030, what's your prediction on the industrial technology? Not only from from a software standpoint, but automation. Out on the job. What does it look like to you?
I feel like everything's getting smaller, if that makes sense physically. Big control systems, all these call them big brains we had that have circuit breakers and relays and all these things. They were great. They served their purpose, but now all of a sudden information is controlling everything. It doesn't have to be a physical on off. It doesn't cutting 110 volts or 240 volts on and off to create motors to perform a task. All this information is coming into play. We're understanding what these pumps can do, what these filters can do, how heaters interact, lights, colors, all these amazing things, all these technologies that are changing. And instead of having these monster systems, it's like all that is going away. We're going to have these small little interfaces. And as I said, this little thing, all of a sudden, with very little hardware, still there's going to be pumps and filters and all those things, although they're getting smaller as well. The electronics is getting so much easier. We're not going to open a box and see 1,000 wires all over the place. We're just going to have these simple interfaces, whether it's for our pool, for our house, anything else, right? I mean, the old days we had these big cameras all over with wires. Now they're just wireless little guys that can move and tilt and pan and zoom, and we can see all these things. So I think years down the road, um, all of the mechanical ability that we've had to learn, all of the different pieces of hardware, more so electronic equipment, a lot of those are going to go away and our lives are going to be a lot easier because control is going to be easier to maintain, right? It'll all be information. And as you said, listen, I've been doing it this way for 30 years. It works. It's not broken. Don't fix it. Um, People that are with that, although it's rewarding, and like I said, you can certainly make a great living and be appreciated, they're going to find themselves left behind. So stick with the information. It doesn't always have to be the craziest and most intricate, but it's I feel like it's going that direction.
And I know that post COVID times, we're still trying to grasp what's to come of COVID. I know COVID reared its ugly head in 2020, and we're sort of on, the outside looking in on the other direction, but we're still just kind of in wait and see approach with all the variables in the world today. New construction has dropped, but service has soared exponentially for those business owners that have really made it a point of emphasis to look at in 2025 or even did it in 2024. They said, you know what? I'm going to invest more in our service division. What would be your best piece of advice to those people that are looking to either make things more efficient or be able to ramp up that division more and more in the coming months and year?
So I would still default back to the answer I've given forever. I really feel like service and construction have an integral relationship. We were born a service company, and I don't even understand how you can get in the construction business without having first understood and gotten a really good grasp on service. Because if you don't know how it works, it's a little bit hard to build it. But that being said, I always tell people the best start is to start in service, understand what you're working on, understand how they work, and then you can just build these beautiful things. But as you said, new construction might change and it ebbs and flows. Service is very, very constant. And new construction has a lot to do with service, right? I mean, if it's a referral or a second pool that you're building for someone or in a second home, that becomes service, right? I mean, they're not calling you because you were named in the phone book of a construction or on the internet. They're calling you because you provided a service. So the service business, in my mind, is a constant feed and a never stop. Even though we build them, at some point we need to keep them advanced. What's happening in 2025 not going to be the same in 2030. So there's your service. We're going to constantly, we've built something that needs service. And so that relationship will always be integral and it's important. But the service business, I would tell you, is the lifeblood of the swimming pool industry.
Very nice. And last question I got for you, Isaac, before we let you go and wrap things up. We talked a lot about innovation and technological advances, but outside of CRM tools, let's put a name to the face. For those out there listening, it's like, okay, it's great that we talk about the technological advances and the innovation, but how do I do that? What does that look like for me? How would you, describe what it is that you're saying when you say, let's advance our technology, let's get innovative? What does that look like?
Um, so I think in part of it, you're going to have to sort of open your eyes to other industries. The swimming pool industry does lag a little bit. What you're seeing in a home, right? When you go up, as I think a pretty common um, way of thinking of things. When you go up and you're going to go to your thermostat and you want to make it colder or hotter, you do that. I mean, you just walk up and you turn it or you change a setting on your phone and the systems to make that happen. No, okay, in order to make it hotter, I need to turn the heating or air conditioning system on. I need to make sure it's cooling instead of heating. So it's all those things need to happen. Right now, we're still at a point where, in order to make the pool heat, I got to turn the pool on. Then I got to turn the heater on. Then I'm going to set the temperature. So it's now combining tasks. And I think that's the way you're going to see the pool industry head. I mean, I think that's the question you're asking me.
Yes.
We're going to start to consolidate and need to change our thinking to look around what's happening in other industries. Home automation, or as simple as something as, like I said, turning the heat on or the air conditioning on in your house. We need to simplify our tasks. And I think that's the way that the industry is headed.
A lot of great insight into what to expect or maybe predict being a better use of connotation for the pool industry beyond 2024 and into the next 5 years. Isaac Keselman, president of AquaDoctor, chief operating officer of Azurion, joining us today. Thank you, Isaac, for tuning in. Thank you all for joining us on this episode and making us a part of your weekly commute. We'll see you right back here. Until next time, thanks again.